So we welcome Rabbi Alex Mathews. Woo-hoo.
Thanks, everyone. I'm impressed with your promptness. We usually give like at least a 5 or 10 minute window for people to kind of wander in. I'm honored to start us with a prayer this morning, and it'll be prayer by way of song, which I'll introduce and lead you in just a minute. I also just, this feels like an especially difficult day to kind of stand up here in front of a group of people who I don't know that well and try to guess what you're thinking and feeling. I think with the news on Friday afternoon of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, just because something didn't come as a surprise doesn't mean it doesn't come as a shock, and doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of heartache and pain that is coming out of that decision. And certainly, seeing the reaction split between some really deep pain and celebration, you know something's wrong. And you know that standing up in front of a room of people and being in a space to pray together and to set intention together, I just hope we're able to provide a space this morning for whatever it is you need, whether that is a distraction from some of the really heavy thoughts on your heart, or a space to really kind of embrace them and sit with them. And so in that light, I'd like to introduce you all to a short and simple song written by a Jewish artist named Batya Levine. It's only got about a dozen words, so we're going to do it once with you repeating after me, and then I'll lead you through a couple kind of repetitions of it. So the words are, "May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive." And then the second verse is, "May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive." So let's just go through those first two lines, line by line, and then we'll sing it together. May I be empty and open to receive the light.
May I be empty and open to receive the light.
May I be empty and open to receive.
May I be empty and open to receive.
And then the second kind of verse is the same exact thing, but with full instead of empty. So let's go through that, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 times together and use that as our opening prayer together. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
Hallelujah. Let's just take that in. Woo! So we go right from that lovely opening into Shambhala. Place in our hearts where there's only peace, only love, Shambhala. Great turning of life. Whether we are in the stage of loving it or challenged by it, we are in it. It's Shambhala. 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 Again. So it is. Yeah, and we turn it to.
Great job, man. So happy Sunday, everybody. Lots of times when I get up here, when I talk to you, you might know what I'm going to speak to you about. It's like I like to sing audience participatory songs. So you've heard this many times. It's called The Power of Love. So please feel free to join in if you're so moved. Blessed are you when you don't have much to say. Blessed are you when you feel like you've lost your way. Blessed are you when you're misunderstood, and good is all that you're thinking of. Blessed are you when you live in the power of love. You can sing that one with me. 'Cause blessed are you when you live in the power of love. For you are the salt of the earth, your time is now. You got things to do with your life, but you just don't know how. You can let your light shine from the hill when you connect it to the light from above. Yes, you can do it all when you live in the power of love. Sing that one with me too. You know that you can do it all when you live in the power of love. Well, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. They shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the pure at heart, for they shall see God. They shall see God. Blessed are the ones who sacrifice. Blessed are the ones who serve. Blessed are you when you live in the power of love. Let me hear that one. Hey, blessed are you when you live in the power of love. One more time. Blessed are you when you live in the power of love. All right, John. Consider those birds in the air, see how they fly. Consider those lilies in the field, they don't even try. And in the middle of the riddle of good and bad, just give your heart to the dove. Just like a bird or a flower, you can live in the power of love. Wow, let me hear that now. Just like a bird or a flower, you can live in the power of love. You can have it all when you live in the power of love. Blessed are you when you live in the power. Like a bird or a flower, you can live. Blessed are you when you live in the power. You can have it all. Just like a bird or a flower, you can live in the power. Just like a bird or a flower, you can live in the power of. Blessed are you when you live in the power of. Blessed are you when you live in the power of. Blessed are you when you live in the power of.
Well, welcome everyone to our Unity service at this beautiful synagogue. We're so blessed to be here at this on this lovely, lovely summer morning. And yeah, it's a bit of a challenging morning for many of us, depending on how you feel about the change in Roe v. Wade. I know many of us have fought hard for years for justice and equality, and this feels like a big setback for many, and for some it is a celebration, but yeah, so we just send out love. Let's just send out love to the Supreme Court, to the whole, our democracy, that we find a way to bring peace and justice to all of us, to all beings, and And so we breathe into that message. That is the truth, and that is where we are in God's mind. So we welcome anyone who is celebrating for the first time. Is there anyone here for the first time? Oh, welcome to you. Bless you. We do have some packets. Jim is getting up to get them for you. We're blessed by your presence, and we welcome all paths to God. So please talk to any one of us, or you can talk to me, or Jim, or Mark, or anyone about our message and our service. Let's see, what else? We're going to sing Surely the Presence. Well, and we're going to first say hi to the streamers. Welcome, we're blessed by you too. Okay, and after we sing Surely the Presence, we'll do the mission and vision. Okay. At this time, we're going to say our mission statement together now. Centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. And our mission statement. We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity. So it is. And now we have the time in our service when we say hello to each other. And that can be just a bowing and a namaste if that feels good, or if people are open to, be sure to ask if a hug is appropriate. Say hello. hard to tear ourselves apart, isn't it? It's like to see you. Oh, it's wonderful to see some new faces and some brand new faces. We are a vibrant spiritual community, and with that in mind, we're part of a great world unfolding the evolution of heart. And I know that we come from the same source, that whether we're Jewish or Muslim or Christian or Buddhist or any of the many, many paths to God, we're all one. So I did write this song for knowing that Rabbi Alex was going to be here, and thinking about Jerusalem and what the word means metaphysically. And it is a place in the heart, a place of blessing and holiness, and a place where we all meet in God's love. So hopefully you'll sing some of it. It's got many times it repeats the word shalom, which means peace. So here we go. In Jerusalem. still working on it. We're working on peace everywhere, aren't we? Bless us all. Thank you so much. So, at this time, I have the great honor to introduce beloved Alex Mathews. Alex has been a member of the congregation Ahavas Achim since 2015. Did I pronounce that right? Ahavas Achim. Since 2015, and has been serving the congregation as congregation leader since 2019. In addition to his responsibilities at CAA, Alex is a rabbinical student at Hebrew College in Newton. He's working toward his expected ordination in 2003. Let's give him a hand. We see it done. It is done. Alex brings a deep love of the Torah, teaching, and Jewish tradition to community building in Greater Newburyport. In his spare time, you can find Alex running, biking, or helping out at his wife Mac's Newbury farm. Let's welcome Alex Mathews. Welcome, Rabbi.
Thanks so much, Meg, and thank you all so much for welcoming me here this morning. Ahavas Achim might be a little bit of a mouthful to say, especially if you're not used to that guttural, CH sound, but it does actually mean brotherly love. And so, the notion of sharing this space with you and being welcomed into this space is such a good actualization of that. And I know that our synagogue community really appreciates the connection and relationship that we've built with yours. And just the notion of hearing that song, Surely the Presence of the Lord is in this space, and feeling it in a way that I have never felt it in this space that is very holy and meaningful to me, this morning felt really, truly special. And although I am usually on a Sunday morning still in my pajamas at this point in the day, I'm very glad to be able to start my Sunday with you in this way this morning. As we get our first taste of summer heat in what feels like weeks, I imagine that at least some of you this morning are thinking about your gardens. With the heat we're experiencing and some rain hopefully finally coming in tomorrow, I expect that many of us will go home and see our front or backyard crops take off, as the transformation into summer that we marked earlier this week with the solstice shows itself in the landscape around us. You may wonder why the local almost rabbi is standing up in front of you talking about gardening. And the truth is that my own journey of return to Jewish religious and spiritual practice was sparked by my previous career as a vegetable farmer. It turns out that the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, has a lot to say about agriculture. After all, the ancient Israelites were pastoralists and farmers, and so many of the laws of the Torah are actually about caring for the land on which we depend, and through that, caring for the people in our communities. As a kid, I would come upon the agricultural passages in the Torah, and my honest thought about it was that it was pretty boring. It felt irrelevant to me. I wanted stories about Abraham and Sarah and Moses and miracles, not guidance about donating part of the wheat harvest. It was only after I began to grow food myself that I realized how much of this ancient practice regarding sustenance is so relevant even today. I want to share with you all this morning a story that illustrates just how impactful one of these lessons from the Torah was for me. About 5 years ago, before I had even thought about enrolling in rabbinical school, I was working as a farmer educator in Drayton. I managed an incubator farm, where aspiring and beginning farmers were able to lease a small plot of land, about 1/3 of an acre, and try out being a farmer on a small scale, with minimal investment or personal risk, yet taking full responsibility for their crops and their own farm businesses. One day in August, an incubator farmer named Mohammed, a middle-aged man with a full-time job as a researcher at a genetics lab, asked me to check on spots he had seen on the leaves of his tomato plants. Tomatoes were his main crop, and he had a few hundred plants of different varieties of cherry tomatoes, red, orange, and purple. By mid-August, the vines were ripe, and the fruit was delicious looking and needed to be harvested at least twice a week. Because of his job and his family responsibilities, Mohammed was only able to come to his farm plot on the weekends, and so it was practically impossible for him to keep up with the demands of the harvest in midsummer. As I walked through his field looking for tomato disease, I couldn't help but think what a shame it was that there was all of this perfect fruit that he would not have the opportunity to harvest and sell before it passed its peak. I also could not help but pluck a few of those perfect cherry tomatoes and pop them in my mouth. As a farmer, I didn't think twice about enjoying that little snack. It was only the following Saturday, sitting in one of these pews, admittedly perhaps spacing out a bit during the service, that my conscience began to act up. Had my seemingly innocuous snack in a field, in fact, been an act of theft? After all, as Meg mentioned in my intro, my wife is a farmer. If someone wandered into her fields and started eating her crops, be it a woodchuck or a bunny or a human being, I expect we would both be pretty upset. The Torah actually addresses this topic almost directly in the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verses 25 and 26 state, "When you enter another man's vineyard, you may eat as many grapes as you want, until you are full, but you must not put any in your vessel. When you enter another man's field of standing grain, you may pluck ears with your hand, but you must not put a sickle to your neighbor's grain." Phew. The Torah had me covered. After all, "you may eat as many grapes as you want" seems to correlate perfectly with the cherry tomatoes I had snagged. And I think the underlying message of these verses have deeper implications for how we relate to and how we hold ourselves responsible for the people around us. When I was in the field, tasting those tomatoes was actually a pretty mindless activity. What I was really focused on was the implications of those tomatoes for Mohammed's business. As I walked amongst the rows, my instinct was to fill a vessel, to pick as many cherry tomatoes as possible. It's a shame to see the literal fruits of someone's labor go to waste, and the tastiest produce of the year left to rot on the vine. In the moment, I would have had options. I could have picked those tomatoes and left them for Mohammed to sell. I could have picked them and donated them to a food bank. Or I could have picked them and brought them home for my wife to sell through her farm. By my reading of the text in Deuteronomy, however, I did exactly what I think I should have done. I didn't put anything in a vessel or undertake the harvest. Rather, I ate a few and I kept on walking. Indeed, I think it's possible that the situation described in the Torah is similar to what I was experiencing. In the passage in Deuteronomy, if a passerby is eating the fruit, the implication is it must be ripe, and obviously the owner isn't there to pick it. The Torah does not encourage us to take advantage of our neighbor's misfortune of not being able to harvest their own bounty, nor does it instruct us to do our neighbor's labor for them unasked or uncompensated. The plain meaning of the verse is very straightforward. You must not put a sickle to your neighbor's grain. There are no qualifiers. It doesn't seem to matter if you would want to harvest it for your own benefit or theirs. Yes, I could have picked Mohammed's fruit for him or brought it home for myself, but that would have circumvented his learning experience. As an educator and friend, I wanted Mohammed to succeed, which would have meant maximizing yields and profits. But what I took from the text was that, in fact, my responsibility was to allow Mohammed to experience and learn from the situation in his fields. These lessons are not unique to farming, as we are all taught that we can learn from adversity. But it can be extremely difficult to let ourselves or others struggle or even fail. Of course, I didn't just report back to Mohammed about the harmless spots on his tomato leaves and leave him to figure out the fact that he was leaving ripe fruit on his plants, or leave him to deal with the management issues he needed to address as a beginning farmer. I worked closely with him and talked and counseled him on modifying his crop plan and his management practices to better optimize his business and ensure that his hard work would not be for naught. This is just one of the many examples of how the Torah teaches us about living in community through the lens of agriculture. In the ancient society of Torah times, social service systems were rooted deeply in their agrarian practices. Not only did the Torah institute a universal de facto tax on produce, the tithing of a portion of yields to care for the needy and to sponsor ancient ritual life as practiced in the temple, there are more compassionate practices as well. There's the commandment that's known in Hebrew as payah, of leaving the corners of your fields unharvested so that whoever needs food can come and gather anonymously without shame. There's also a similar injunction on not going back to pick up crops left behind or missed in the harvest practice, so that folks in need can glean to have their needs met. This stands in stark contrast to the individualistic capitalist ideal of maximizing personal gain in trying to profit from each and every last grain and stalk. The guidance of the Torah, however, does not end there. While the text recognizes how important it is that we take action as individuals to strengthen and care for our communities, it also recognizes our basic reliance on the divine and natural forces that shape the world around us. That without the bounty of the land, we're not going to be able to manage to care for one another. And that bounty is not something we should ever be taking for granted. One of the most effective ways of recognizing these gifts of abundance and production is to establish a pause, a time to let those forces rest and recharge. I am referring to the practice of the sabbatical year, as described in Leviticus chapter 25. It reads, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land that I assign you, the land shall observe a Sabbath of the Lord. 6 years you may sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather in the yield. But in the 7th year the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath of the Lord. You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. You shall not reap the aftergrowth of your harvest or gather the grapes of your untrimmed vines. It shall be a year of complete rest for the land. But you may eat whatever the land during its Sabbath will produce. You, your male and female servants and slaves, the hired and bound laborers who live with you, and your cattle and the beasts in your land may all eat its yield." There are a couple of facets of that text I want to hone in on for a moment. The first is the descriptive language the Torah uses when describing the sabbatical year. The phrase, "a complete rest," is used twice. This goes so far beyond the normal scope of our everyday lives. We can barely find time for ourselves to rest. Actually, I'll just speak for myself. I cannot manage to find nearly enough time to truly unplug and allow myself to reset. Imagine prioritizing a break, something called a complete rest, and not just for yourself, but for everything and everyone around you, the people, animals, and land that surround us and that we depend on. I also want to note just how incredible an act of faith embracing this complete rest would be. Imagine again if you and everyone you knew and all of the means of production and social safety were to take a year off at the same time. Imagine being told that you would survive and hopefully even thrive on what the land would produce on its own and what God and society would manage to scrap together. It would be a tremendous transformation, and frankly, from the outset, a scary proposition. It may, in fact, be an impossible ask. Which leads me to think that perhaps the lessons of the sabbatical year don't need to come from its strict observance. It's unclear if the sabbatical year was ever observed to the letter of the law as it was written in the Torah. And though the practice of cyclical counting of 7 years has stood the test of time, in fact, this year in the Hebrew calendar is a sabbatical year, the workarounds and loopholes that have prevented economic distress are almost as ancient as the laws themselves. The upshot is that the Torah wanted us to understand the basic nature of human interdependence, that no matter what we do or how we live, we rely on other people to work alongside us and on the natural world to support us. And we should never assume that the labor of others or the output of natural systems can provide indefinitely. We cannot expect anything to give more and more and more without ever being given an opportunity to rest. This brings to mind the words of Wendell Berry, the author, poet, philosopher, and farmer. He wrote in The Unsettling of America that we have given up the understanding that our land passes in and out of our bodies, just as our bodies pass in and out of our land. That as we and our land are part of one another, so all who are living as neighbors here, human and plant and animal, are part of one another, and so cannot possibly flourish alone. Berry must know his Leviticus well, and as an aside, I think he does. He has a long-standing poetry collection called the Sabbath Poems. He understands and exhorts us to celebrate the connection of all life. He tells us that humanity must embrace our role in natural systems, rather than pretending that we exist outside or above them. And if we are to be a reflection and embodiment of God, beings who are both made in God's image and crafted from the dust and mud of the earth, embracing the ideals of the sabbatical and living in harmony with natural systems is a sure path to live up to those lofty and aspirational ideals. I hope that we can all open ourselves up, not just to the tasty snacks, but the wisdom that can be gleaned from walking through a garden or a farm field.
What a gift to hear that message. And so now is the time in our service when we relax, go into rest, a complete rest for the minute, time we have. always present for us to rest in our hearts and minds, no matter what's going on. We are a circle, and we do belong to each other, and we heal each other, and we heal the earth by understanding that. So this chant is a call and response. I am a circle, and I am healing you. So if you want to just follow me. I am a circle. I am healing you. You are a circle. You are healing me. Just breathing now into that beautiful circle of light. Imagine that it surrounds you as you sit here. And just relaxing your heart and mind. And breathing. A complete rest. Let my heart and my mind and my whole body go into a complete rest. I'm in a circle of love. We open up that circle as we relax our minds and our hearts even more. And breathe into the allness. There's nothing outside of this circle. As I breathe in, I'm taking the all. And as I breathe out, I let out the all. And empty and full at the same time. We take this energy and light into the silence. their name softly into the space of love. Into the healing field. I am a circle. I am a circle. I am healing you. I am healing you. You are a circle. You are a circle. You are healing me. You are healing me. Unite us. Unite us. Be as one. Be as one. Unite us. Unite us. Be as one. Be as one. I am a circle. I am a circle. I am healing you. I am healing you. You are a circle. You are a circle. You are healing me. You are healing me. Unite us. Unite us. Be as one. Be as one. Unite us. Unite us. Be as one. 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 Let's say an Om together now. Beautiful. All right, so now we get to take all this lovely energy and offer it up. We take our corners of the field and we offer them to in our tithes and offerings to those in need, to this church, and to where it sends its gifts and blessings and tithes and offerings. So, let's say our blessing of the tithes and offerings. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I got everything I need. Be happy. I got food. I got friends. I got my community. I got the birds in the morning and Jim, for collecting the offerings, and we know that these offerings are abundant, that we are abundant, and we multiply, and we bring forth all that is needed for everything that this money and these tithes are going out into the world to bless the love and the life that we are. And so it is. So it is. Woo! Okay, so I guess, there's another offering coming up. Announcements. There's a big, huge, great big announcement. It is Mark Schneider's birthday today.
Right on the mic. Not that mic. Yep. You're singing.
So first of all, I want to let everyone know that Unity on the River is going to have a potluck party.
Oh.
So that's going to be on Sunday, 7/24, around 12:30. It's not going to be here. It's going to be at the house of Michelle Malot and David Watt.
Oh, yay! Right there. Thank you.
So they're going to provide the meats, so you can bring salads and desserts and stuff. And also, if you're going to attend, be sure to RSVP to info@unityontheriver.org.
info@unityontheriver.org.
That will give you instructions on how to get there and also let us know how many people to expect.
Great. And we have one more big announcement. I'm not sure you're on. Are you on? Can you hear? Okay, more on the mic. A little more on the mic.
So, one more thing is that, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a little more punch to the band today. And that's because Steve has a new drum set.
Yay!
I want to thank Steve for giving us the opportunity to upgrade our set and to sell the old set. So Unity on the River owns those drums, and we've been using a drum that's a beginner's level set, not really appropriate for the professional level of musicians we have. So we were able to upgrade that. And even better, 2 donors stepped up to pay the difference between the cost of these and what we're going to sell the other ones for. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. Lots of gratitude. We also know that Steve is playing at the Backbeat Brewery every Tuesday night with amazing Ken Clark band. So it's a big open air space where you can bring children. I know Cherie brings her grandchildren. I've got to bring my grandchildren.
I'll be there with the kids Tuesday.
Yeah, so do
Tuesday
that.
nights, the Backbeat.
And you've got a play? Do you have a...
I have a play coming up. It's the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I get to play the vice principal, which is pretty much the lead. I know. I have to be a little more uptight than I usually am. But that's, let's see, it's the weekend after the 4th. So yeah, it's a little ways away. But Hannah's also in one performance of the youth cast as well. Unless something tragic happens to the person she's understudying.
We'll be there. Whoa!
Did we skip over the minister position? Officially posted? Yeah. So it'll be posted and published soon, so we'll be looking. So Shipley, put that resume back in.
I just want to make sure that Michelle and David have a pool. You got a pool in the back? How about it? Oh, sprinkler! Oh, fun. Great.
Are we good?
We're good. Are you good?
Where should we go, Brian?
Where
We should go down to the river.
Down to the river?
Not where the mountain is not high enough. Right, ain't no mountain.
Or go to the river?
I know a place where we can go to lay the troubles down, eating your soul. I know a place where mercy flows. Take the stains, make you whiter than snow. Like a tide, it is rising up deep inside a current that moves and makes it come alive. Living water brings a desert life. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Hey, hey. Let's get washed by the water, washed by the water. Rise up in amazing grace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. You'll leave change. Let's go down, down, down to the river. Never the same. I seen him move in my own life. Took me from dusty roads into paradise. All of my dirt, all of my shame, drowned in the streams that made me born again. Like a tide, it is rising up deep inside a current that moves and makes it come alive. Living water brings the dead to life. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Hey, hey. Let's get washed by the water, washed by the water. Rise up in amazing grace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. You will leave change. Let's go down, down, down to the river. Never the same. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Hey, hey. Be washed by the water, washed by the water. Rise up in amazing grace. We're going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Hey, hey. Let's get washed by the water, washed by the water. Rise up in amazing grace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. You will leave change. Let's go down, down, down to the river. Never the same. It's time for a peace song.
The peace song.
So let's rise and sing our peace song and do our prayer of protection.
Okay.
You got it? Let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the light of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is,
and all is well.
and we are richly blessed. Happy Sunday, everybody.